Hello, I'm Sandy Cushion. Welcome again to Country Canada. These are dismal times in the Atlantic fishery, but the news isn't all bad, especially in the scallop fishery. Anyone who orders scallops in a restaurant or buys them in a fish market knows that scallop prices are high, and the catches have been good. But catching scallops is hard work, very hard work, that can also be dangerous. To find out how scallop fishermen make their living, Country Canada's Marie Thompson went to sea on board the scallop boat Ocean Lady out of Lunenburg, Nova Scotia.
Georges Banks, 200 kilometers southeast of Nova Scotia. These boats are after the one bright note in the East Coast fishery, scallops. They're worth $80 million to the Atlantic economy. The scallop fishermen make more money than anyone in the fishery. It's grueling manual labor, even dangerous when the storms blow and ice builds up on the ships. But these men think the risks are worthwhile. Ordinary crewmen can earn as much as $70,000 a year. The voyage started a few days earlier in Lunenburg. The crew of the Ocean Lady has to load provisions and fuel. The men are considered co-adventurers with the company. It owns the boat, but they share all other costs. The crew divides up 60% of the value of every catch, but out of that, they must pay for food and fuel. Overseeing the work is Captain Alan Skinner.
Is there not much linking to that, is it?
Skinner's known throughout the fishery as the Highliner, the top skipper in the scallop fleet. He's been at it for 30 years. Last year, he made $200,000. Sailing day dawns clear and calm, a time for goodbyes. The scallop season usually lasts from January to September. Each trip is 12 days at sea, with 5 days ashore. The crews are used to storms and freezing cold, but so far the winter of 1993 has been one of the worst in memory. Safety's on everyone's minds these days. Before the boat has even left the harbor, there's a fire drill. Testing the fire hoses, checking the lifeboat stations. The drill takes on a special urgency this year because only 3 months ago, one of the offshore scallop draggers, the Cape Aspy, became top-heavy with ice and was lost.
Good evening. It took only minutes for the scallop dragger Cape Aspy to go down. For the 16-man crew, they were minutes of terror.
3 bodies were plucked from the icy ocean. 2 were never found. 11 men survived, but people soon began questioning the need for the winter fishery.
The banks should be closed down for January, February, and March, and open them up the 1st of April. This would prevent a tragedy like this ever happening again.
2 weeks after the accident, as this news footage shows, 5 crews did refuse to sail. But not everyone agreed with the action. One boat sailed that day, Alan Skinner's.
Are you going to be safe up there? Safe. We've been doing it for 30 years to be safe. We have one accident, everybody's all upset.
Skinner's non-union crew put their trust in the skipper.
Alan Skinner thinks it's safe to go out to sea. I trust his judgment.
Now, in mid-March, Skinner and his men sail again, still confident. The Ocean Lady is a big new steel boat, well equipped with lifeboats and emergency locators. As far as the crew goes, if there's money to be made, they'll sail. Alan Skinner's heading out to Georges Banks, where the scallops are plentiful. The scanner shows him if the sea bottom is rough or smooth. This is a highly competitive business, and he's proud of his Highliner reputation.
Everybody likes to be on top, you know, that's the size of it. You know, they say, some people say they don't care, but I know they really do deep down inside. So I don't think I would feel very good if If I was the low boat instead of the high boat, I think I'd much rather be the high boat.
It's 1:45 in the morning and it's time to start work for half the crew. A shot of coffee helps to wake them up.
Start rolling.
Tommy Skinner is the captain's son and first mate. He'll be in charge for the first haul. He's 27 years old and has always wanted to be like his old man.
Okay, this baby's been out 15 minutes. Now we'll see what we got here in the first tow.
The concept is simple. Drag a heavy metal rake along the bottom of the ocean, dump it out on deck, pick up the scallops and shell them. The rakes are towed as many as 35 times a day. Once the boat gets to the scallop grounds, the work starts and it almost never stops.
It has to be teamwork, more or less, you know. If the fellows that's down on deck is no good, you can be as good as you like up there. It ain't going to do you any good.
It usually takes 10 minutes to scramble through the rocks and jumble from the seafloor to pick up all the scallops. When that's done, they start shucking. It's hustle, hustle, hustle. The scallops must be shelled and cleaned almost as soon as they're brought aboard. Everyone shares in the work. The harder they all work, the more money they all make. Incentive to keep at it night and day. Time for breakfast, prepared by the cook, Christopher Levy. The men have 20 minutes to eat before they go out again. While the first crew eat, the second crew work. Every shift change, there's a 2-hour overlap. That way, no time is lost for meals and more scallops get shucked. At 8 a.m., half the crew gets to turn into their bunks. No 8 hours sleep for these guys. They have to be up in 3.5 hours to start work all over again.
We're all late till 11 o'clock.
And so it goes. Even the cook is expected to help out when there's enough to do. Except for the roar of the engines, the men are as silent as monks. That's the rule on Skinner's boat.
How's the concentrate of what we're doing?
The work takes its toll. Some men have nerve damage in their hands, others have chronic back problems. It's no wonder.
After you've been shocking for 12 days aboard here, you feel like you get hit by a truck. Your arms, the next morning when you wake up after you're home, they feel like they're blistering hot. Your fingers don't work right. You go to a bank, you got a hard job to sign your name for a day or two. Shaking. Must be coming down off the putting out 100% all the time.
Johnny 5, supper time, or dinner time.
As cook, Levy makes sure everyone gets out of bed on time. The men lose contact with the world outside. For them, all that matters is what the food tastes like and what the weather will be like when they have to go back out on deck. As it happened, the whole time Country Canada was aboard the Ocean Lady, the weather was beautiful. But it doesn't take much to bring on a swell. Rakes and blocks swing back and forth, and so do men. Albert Drake sometimes brings his video camera along. He gave us some footage of what the seas can really be like. Despite the pitching and rolling, the men keep working. It's simple. If they let up for weather, they lose money. But they don't dwell on the rigors of the sea all the time. Sometimes the rake brings in a surprise among the rocks and shells. On the Ocean Lady, there's a story about a Timex watch. Garfield Forward tells it.
This here watch got washed overboard. It was in the water, 3 weeks. They hauled it up, and it was still going.
It's up to the captain to keep everybody working, finding the fine line that divides high productivity and dangerous overwork. Most of the time, he's in the wheelhouse.
You see more up there than what these fellows can see, you know. You can see a lot more. The rake swinging in, tackles breaking, or anything, you know. Sometimes you look up and you'll see a tackle broken, which I think we got one right now.
Which one is tackle?
That's that wire going up. Ron! Is that tackle broken up there?
A taggle is a name for one of the strands in the heavy wire cable holding up the rake. If the cable snapped, someone could be killed. The cable's fixed while the men keep on working. So why do they do it? It all comes back to money. Few have more than a high school education. Nowhere else could they earn so much. Even Captain Skinner lends a hand when the decks are full and the shucking house backed up with shells.
There's no way could I find another job to make the money I'm making. It just doctors, lawyers, I'd have to be up into that class, and there's no way.
The men don't pretend they like working in the winter, but they see it as just another part of the job. Crew member John Clark says if the risks are higher in winter, they just have to be more vigilant.
Don't gonna be scared. I got to do it, right? So just got to try to make the best of it and stay safe.
He'd rather be doing something else, but this job is his life.
Money. My family. I mean, say you got a good ball here, you make $70,000 a year, damn good gang of men. Just trying to keep up with these fellas. Worth it, right?
Despite the calls to end the winter scallop fishery, the government has said it will continue. The men on board the Ocean Lady will keep on coming out to sea as long as they trust the man in the wheelhouse. And pray that next winter's storms aren't as wild as this year's.